This is Antonio Timms from Tony the Mayor Podcast, Experience, Strength, and Hope. And I'm here with my friend Brewel Currie. He has done our show plenty of times. It's mostly been on the audio podcast. And I think this is our first video podcast. So I'm going to let Brewel introduce himself again and tell about what we're here for today.
Okay, sounds great. Okay, we're here for today to talk about our launch with Street Profits. Street Profits is more than a clothing brand, but we do sell clothing. Mm-hmm. And what the clothing is to do is to be a billboard to inspire and encourage others to change their lives. Okay. But what Street Profits does mostly is we go in to do that change of life and discipleship programs, mentoring, and we're looking to get in internships. We do have a partnership now with the prisons. So to go in and to, have them already be attached to ministry work so they can connect and, feel valued like they're supposed to. We're looking in so many different areas, but of course we're starting out in this avenue of it, just making people feel like they are who they're supposed to feel like, and it's a child of God that is someone great and special.
So it's faith-based, you want to make sure.
Oh yeah,
people know
definitely.
That. All right, and just nothing. And I know how hard you worked on this for the years and everything, and what's coming up. So you want to tell a little bit? Who wants to tell us about what's coming up? So what's happened already? You know, I'm behind that. This what's happening. What happened September the 1st?
Yes. Okay. So September 1st, we launched the Street Profits website. And we did a photo shoot before that. So right before that, we had our first photo shoot, our first gathering of our community that we have right now. And the website definitely reflects that we are more than a clothing brand, I feel like. Upcoming, Brewel is working with Ellsworth Prison to go in there, and they are going to help us create some designs. And then we are also going to work with K-State. We're hoping to create a partnership there with their graphic design and their marketing departments, so that we are able to utilize the talents that God has given people. Okay,
let me ask you a question. When you first, when you approach people and you tell them about it, you bring it out to the community, you go to K-State, and they say, "What is Street Profit?" I mean, when you tell them, when you just come right off and say, "We're Street Profit," the brand, how do they receive it, and how do you get, present it to people most of the time?
So I would say Brewel is probably, the person who really does that most of the time. When I do it personally, I describe that we are more than a clothing brand. I let them know that we go, so for me, I guess, I let them know that Street Profits is more than a clothing brand. We're a Christian clothing brand where we want to reach the streets and the people that will, I guess, benefit from that type of relationship with God. We want to reach people that probably, so I'm going to let you take this one over, Brewel.
Okay.
That's fine. When we say streets, we're not just talking about when you just go to neighborhoods or streets that are having the shootings or the drug activity, but we do want to go out and reach that. But we're talking about even, the streets could be in athletics, different organizations, people in music, people in high schools, middle school, single parents, the streets outside of the church. So we're looking outside of the church because, as you see, it's a lack of people going into the church now. So we're going out to bring the word to them and bring them into the church.
Yeah, and I think the other thing I would add is it's just another form of evangelism, right? We're all called to be disciples. We're all called to disciple and to be ministers for Christ. And if you think about it, all of the apostles were street prophets. That Jesus sent them all out into the world, right? We're called to go forth and make disciples, and really that's kind of what the Street Profits brand is to do. It's to have a conversation, but have a different connection point, right? So if I wear a God relationship discipleship, really that's what it is. And kind of what Street Profits is meant to do is hit that middle section. Is you got to have a relationship before you can really start in discipleship. So Street Profits is really something that's just meant to bring people together to just kind of have a common cause, wear common clothing, sit down and just talk about where we are on our different in our different faith walks. If you look, the three of us, we're all on different parts of our faith journey with Christ. So, you know, I think Street Profits is just one of the hinges for that door to kind of open that door to our hearts. So.
Okay, and I know, do you guys? I know a Brewel attends church. Do you guys go to church in Manhattan, or you attend church anywhere here in the community? Because I'm just wondering how do how do you relate this, first, not just with your walk with Christ, but, with other church members or with, other people in the community? Because I know Brewel, he visits churches in Junction City, Manhattan, goes to the prison, and does a lot of things like that. And so he's doing a lot of outreach. Do you guys do any outreach too, or you just...
So for me personally, I'm actually Buddhist.
Okay.
And so this is also why I also really... this is why I really love Street Profits, and this is why I promote it too, though, is because where I'm at in my life, Brewel meets me where I'm at all times. Great. Jared also. And that is what I would say Street Profits is all about. There are some things that, in my personal opinion, are similarities between both of them, right? So, like, I might use the word spirit guides, they use the word angels, I use the word universe, they say God. I think that it's important for people to have a relationship with God or a spiritual belief of some kind, and I feel like that understanding and that faith in me also makes me want to learn more about their faith, their religion, their spirituality. But for me personally, my grandma's from Thailand, and so I was raised Buddhist.
That's great. That's great. I mean, it's just good. I mean, because we get so hung up. I mean, like, if you went to, I'm not going to talk about that, but if you went to certain meetings, we have certain meetings, something that I attend, that it's not a matter of what religion or what, you're serving, but do you have a higher power? Who do you have that you believe in, or what do you trust in? Something that you have, that you can guide. If it's this microphone, you believe this microphone is your spiritual guide, and you trust in it, and it's helping you do right. Okay, you believe it. And so a lot of times we get so caught up. We do that a lot of times too, and I'm glad you said that. Glad you brought that up. That we get so caught up, in who you're serving, where you're serving, and how you serve. I grew up in Chicago. And I tell you, it was a little bit of every religion there, everything going on, every nationality. So it was a lot that you could learn and that you could gather, And I know sometimes I try to open myself up more to other people just so they can understand, And with Brewel talking about I really appreciate, the fact that he said this is not just for going... just in the streets, but the streets can be anywhere. It can be in the colleges. I have a grandson that just started attending college, down in Emporia State. But it can be in the colleges. It can be grocery stores. It can be anywhere that someone can, not just that they see your T-shirt or see that, but they like to see you. They see your smile, your the aura that's around you, and it draws them to you, and then that way you could just put out, well, what's going on?
Exactly.
All right, tell me more about what's going on. Somebody tell me more about what's happening.
Well, and I think that's important, right? Is that no different than Skylar? We met a few months ago, right? And we've already had we've had some super deep discussions, right? And I think that's back to your point. That's the main thing, is right? Is that we have a spiritual center, if you will, but that we're having dialogue, and that we're trying to understand and come from a place of understanding where one another is versus, so much in our society today is I'm right, you're wrong, right? And then we argue from that perspective. Whereas with Street Profits, like Skylar said with Brewel, right? We want to meet people where they are. We just want to understand, hey, what's going on? If somebody's coming out of prison, right? We want to understand, hey, brother, what's your story? Where do you want to be? How do you determine right or wrong? And we just want to be a part of that story.
That's a good thing too for people that's coming either out of prison or different situations we talked about before, that dealt with different traumas in their life or currently dealing with those, about how we reach them and how we meet them, because we have said that, since the pandemic have began, well, even before then, but people are not going into buildings as much. You know, they may be tuning in on the internet, and they may be apprehensive about going around other people and everything. So if there's any way we can reach people to help them, and I've always looked at the fact that people, when they come to either a church or a person or whatever they come in, they're always coming looking for something. You know, even if it's the first time I came, well, not the first time I came to church, first time I really came to church seriously. You know, I went
but you're interested in going there.
right. But I went, you know, when I was in high school and growing up, you know, I went with my grandmother and then went on my own. But I remember when I came in the military and I got involved in a few things, I was like, man, I really, you know, my wife, she started coming to church. She started, you know, attending a church here in Justice City, and then it slowly brought me into it, you know. And it wasn't just the church, and it could be a church, synagogue, or whatever it is, you know. It's the fellowship. It's the fellowship of people. It's the fellowship with each other. So it doesn't matter if we're black, white, you know, whatever, what religion we believe in, or what we're following, or what we're not following. It's the fellowship that draws us together so much, and I think that's the most important thing.
Well, and that's why also I really, love Brewel and Jared over here, but Street Prophets, that's, I think, a really key part in it. So for me, for example, in Manhattan, we don't have a temple we can just go to and worship, right? Mm-hmm. So what's been happening in my spirituality is, as my life, as you know, all lives go up and down on the hiccup of a road, right? And I can have very deep conversations with the both of them, and because I'm open-minded and they give me, okay, so this is what the Bible says, this is, you know, this, and this, and it actually helps me on my own healing journey to hear what they have to say, to hear what the Bible has to say, and to be able to do that, because what Street Prophets is giving me is a community. So I don't have that. I mean, being Buddhist, I was raised that way, obviously, but it's not something that I have. And so even for me, I've sent all my kids have attended a preschool where they can go and learn about God, because I think that, just like you said, having a community and a fellowship, that's what people need. And that, I think, is also what Street Prophets is all about, and that is the acceptance that I get from both of them and the belief that I'm still able to do this, and I think that's really big.
Yeah. Okay. So,
one thing, as I was thinking of this, what really inspired me even more with the vision that God gave me about this was how when we had our photo shoot on the first, well, no, not on the first, but on the, what day we had? 21st. And then to seeing all the people that were there.
Yeah.
And just to see that it wasn't about color, it wasn't about this, it wasn't about, you know, it didn't have all these stigmas, but we were all just like free, and God was in the center, and you can feel it, and it was just like a unity, and it was just a great time, and I think everybody felt the same way. So I was like, wow, God, you're bringing people together to share within you, and we just had a peace. It was just so peaceful. This was
in Manhattan, right?
Yes, this was in Manhattan.
All right, I think I saw some of the pictures. I know that I've been pretty busy, so I haven't been doing my social media as much as I can, you know, as much as I should and everything, but I saw some of the pictures. Okay, with youth, where do the younger people fall in with Street Prophets and everything?
Oh, they definitely have a major place in it, because you know I love the young people, but a major place in that. And then we've had a lot of questions about that. What I love about my team is that they keep me grounded, have a direction of where I'm going, to stay focused and don't go so far out where it could be misunderstood or not be effective. But the young people are definitely right there in that scope where we see that they're so lost and so troubled, and they can look on their phones and Google this and Google that. So their truth is so not truth as we know, you know what I'm saying? So, but that's what our biggest major target is as well. And it's been a big impact, because like where I work at, I deal with a lot of young people, so they connect to me right away. And I just tell them the truth in love, like I do even older people. So,
you know, I think I told you a little bit about this a few months ago. My wife and I, when we went out of town, we went to Tennessee, and I met up with one of my friends down there that works for the Salvation Army, and she used to work with me here. And so my wife and I was going somewhere. So she said, "You want to go to work with me?" I said, "Sure." So I went to work with her, and I said, "Okay." So I'm thinking we're going to be in the building. And she said, oh, we're going to go out and see some of my clients that live in some of the homeless camps. And everything.
Wow.
And I tell you, that was probably the most eye-opening experience that I ever had, because we got a misconception of what people are that are homeless, or people that, you know, just out there, period, you know, that living in the streets, or, you know, our thing is always, think it's tied to a mental illness, but sometimes it's not. You know, it could be tied to some misfortune, some events that happen in their life. And man, I tell you, some of these people were some of the, I mean, most down-to-earth people that I met, talked to, laughed, and I mean, I had an excellent time, you know, just learning about them and about what's going on in their life and what they need and what their needs are. And it's, you know, we can have that misconception with them and with the youth a lot. You know, I work, you know, in a mental health field and been a child case manager for 17 years. And a lot of times we have a preconceived notion of what kids are that are labeled as SED, or severely emotionally disturbed, you know, as they are labeled, you know, in the mental health field. But you never know what has happened in their life and what people need and what people need out there. They might just see your t-shirt or see your hat or see your, like I said, your smile or whatever, and that might just be the turning point in their day or in their life. And, you know, that's what I mean, I really appreciate what you guys are doing. It's beautiful, and it's beautiful to see and to hear, to where people can be. I just love the fact that it don't just have. It could be just a different background, different experience, and everything that we've had when young, old.
And that's what Jesus did. He looked at everybody, all people. He loved people, you know, and just he didn't ask what they were about or how they felt here or what they believed in at the time he met them where they were at.
He did no interview process for a disciple. They had to go through no background check. You know, that's the same way we are. You know, and we are with each other. You know, if we could just come together and do things like that and do some. I just like seeing people do things in the community. Period. It's a good thing that we can do things in the community, and that because, like we said, they may not come to your church, they may not come to your little office space or something, but they may be able to see you anywhere in the streets and everything. So where are we gonna? Where is this at in Manhattan? You want to tell me about everything that's in Manhattan?
We're in Manhattan. What we have is just the shop where we do our production.
Tell me about the shop.
So the shop is at the Ag Press building, which God has blessed us with. And everything, and that partnership was just beautiful. Like I said, God was just bringing people together to make sure that this thing would be successful.
Is that a place people can come, or is that just where you guys do everything? Like
yeah, that's just where the shirts are made at.
Shirts are made, okay. Okay, so you don't have if they can order. You mentioned the website. What is the website? The website is
www.streetprofits.org. Okay, yeah.
We just forget to tell everyone. It's
www.streetprofits.org. Okay. And the profits is PRPHETS.
All right.
Because a lot of people think PR. Let me say it again. PROPHETS.org.
Okay. Anything else you guys want to say about it?
I want to say one thing. I want to say one thing, because I think this is a big major point too. Because, like, you know, when God gives you something, sometimes I think that you don't even know how that actually looks. You know what I'm saying? So when I remember having one of our Street Prophet shirts on, God's Child. I am God's child, and I was walking around in Kansas City with it at the hospital, and as I was walking, all these people, like different people who would look at it, I would see like them looking down. All of a sudden when they seen it, they would just have a big old smile, or they would even shout out from a distance to me, I'm God's child too, I'm God's child too. Then I even had a Spanish speaking couple walk by me, and they were speaking in Spanish, you know, and pointing to my shirt. Yeah, me too, you know. And I mean, it was just reaching and seeing how it touched and how it affects people to go to their heart. Just the little simple things, and that's what Street Profits clothing brand is supposed to do, is bring that light into their heart and let them see that they are God's child and that somebody loves them, you know, and that they are gifted and special and they have something great here on earth to do.
Okay, let's hear a little bit. Go.
Well, so, and to piggyback off of that too, that's what Street Profits is all about, is using their God-given gifts and talents in ways that they might not even know that they have, right? So Brewel, asked me one day, to take on this position and to do this work with him and to basically get the website up and going and, find these graphic designers and do all this stuff. And again, I know that I have some of these talents, right? But even then, Jared's like, oh, let me mentor you to get you to do this. Let's meet every Tuesday at this time, and I'm going to, I'll go over how this works and give you advice. And every Tuesday for, weeks we've been meeting. And that's, they've both been mentoring me also as they've been, mentoring each other. And this has been and that's what Street Profits does. That's what we want to do, is get out into the community, find those people. Because sometimes I think people get so caught up of, I'm not good at what everybody else is good at, or I can't do what this person can do. And that's the power that we want to give back to people, is their individuality, to say that you have a gift. We see it. How can we utilize it? And how can we also teach you that you have this gift?
That's great. All right, Jared?
Yeah, and I would say the other thing is, with Street Profits, a lot of times you got to meet people where they are, right? So, but you also need to listen to kind of what God's telling you. So, just interesting story, actually, how Brewel and I met it's a really uplifting story. We met at a funeral, right? Okay. And so,
really up.
All right.
So we met at a funeral, but Brewel went up and he talked first, and he was going to talk first, so we got sat next to each other, didn't even know each other, and I just looked at him and I just said, I can't explain this, but I just feel like we're supposed to be friends.
That's great.
Right?
That's great.
And from that conversation, right, and sitting down with each other and at the meal afterwards and whatnot, I had to follow him, which wasn't fair, right? You never have a white guy follow a black minister at a funeral. It wasn't even fair. It wasn't even fair. The deck was stacked against me. But yeah, so I had to follow him. But we just kind of went from there, and then we met one day at a coffee shop and talked for 2.5 hours, and really just felt like the Lord was in the conversation and just kind of revealing a little bit of, this is what you think it could be, but let me show you my God-sized vision of this whole thing. And I think that's a lot of it, is you also have to listen to when the Spirit speaks to you, and you got to take those steps. Yes. And I think in today's world we just don't do that. We don't see somebody's T-shirt and say, "Hey, I'm God's child too," right? We just kind of just be quiet and we go do our own thing. So hopefully we're also going to inspire people to just work with one another, to share gifts with each other, and just to lean in on whatever God's telling you to do.
I know how Brewel can be. I went to Wichita with Brewel. We were in training together. Yeah. And I don't think we got much sleep. No. we talked so much, and it's just he's a magnetic type person, that you're drawn to and stuff, and all the good things that, the things that God has done in your life, and from times in Junction City on up to now, and I really appreciate your friendship. Yeah. I appreciate meeting you guys, and we're gonna keep doing this. I'm gonna come up to Manhattan, and we can do something like this so people can see what's going on and everything.
That'd be good.
I want to say one thing for Sky High though. I got to give a shout out because Skylar has something very powerful that's going to change the world. I'm telling you, it's going to change the world. Okay. And I really love what she wants to do with this, and I support her and all that. But I want her to give a shout out for what God has given her.
Yeah. So a little background also on how me and Brewel met is I actually work at Nico's. I run the Italian restaurant in the Ville in Manhattan, and I was leaving work one day, about to clock out, and there was a guy at the bar who caught my attention and said, "Hey, what are you doing with your life?" And it was actually somebody. Yeah, but it wasn't Brewel. It was actually somebody that Brewel has, mentored in the past in prison, actually. And his name's Marlon. And Marlon's like, "Oh, what are you doing with your life?" And so I turned around, and he was respectful about it, just starting conversation. But something inside me said, "Don't clock out. Turn around and have this conversation." Yeah. So I did. And I told him I want to work with kids, at-risk youth. I want to work with people with trauma, specifically those who are in gangs or on drugs. Oh, that's good. And, so I say that to him, and he, kind of makes a comment. He walks out, and he comes back in a couple days later because his brother actually works with me too, or did. And he says, "Hey, I have somebody I'd like you to go meet." And he said Brewel's name. And he sends me his he sends me his information and says, you should call him. And that's literally all he said. And I said, you want me to call Brewel? And he's like, yeah, you want me. He's like, if you want to go work with at-risk youth and you want to do this, like, you just need to meet him. And so, same thing, I called him, and at first I called him, you know, like, hey, you work at Job Corps? He's like, well, you know, COVID, all these things, but hey, let's go meet at a coffee shop. So I go meet Brewel, and no joke, I leave the coffee shop, and same thing, he's got like this magnetic personality, right? I call my husband, and I'm like, I just met the coolest guy I've ever met in my entire life. And he's like, yeah, that's great. But he's like,
Wait, next. Let's move on. So I need to meet him.
But we have this conversation, and same thing, and we just, I mean, it's just an easy conversation, just like we're sitting here, and I tell him my idea and all these things, and everything's kind of been unfolding, but essentially Sky High is my dream organization. So it's a nonprofit that I'm creating. We're in the middle of getting our 501c3. We haven't officially filed for it yet because we're trying to decide the exact direction we're going. But essentially what it is I want it to be a place where people can share their stories, basically all the things that have happened to them. I don't want the people to believe anymore that those things define them.
Yeah. That's powerful.
That's great.
Yeah.
I think that what has happened to us, what I've learned in my life anyways, at least in my own experiences, I believe that God had that plan for me, right? Mm-hmm. I believe, and I was sexually abused as a kid. So for me, you know, I grew up really angry with God my whole life. Got mixed up in drugs and did all these things, and finally, I came to the conclusion that God has this plan for me. That all of this stuff wasn't meant to destroy me, but make me better. Even though in my 20s I was on drugs, I was addicted to drugs, I lost custody of one of my kids, a whole bunch of things, right, that are literally meant to destroy you, actually are what are giving me strength today to help other people change their lives. And so what Sky High does essentially is, it's me just being me, going out there to work with people to give them that strength and to remind them that they're more than whatever has happened to them or what they've done.
That's great.
Good. Yeah,
That's powerful. I like that.
That's powerful.
That's beautiful. I'm looking forward to, you know, seeing more of that and seeing what happens, you know, in the future with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll get a launch date and come back.
Yes, we'll keep going with it.
We'll start meeting weekly.
Oh yeah, it's gonna happen.
All right. Well, we thank you, and I thank Brewel, Sky,
And Jared.
Jared. We didn't share the mic, and I forgot. So I thank you guys. Is there anything else you want to say before?
Just one last time to redeem myself, because I was all over here with the website, so I could look at the camera.
Okay.
www.streetprophets, and that's prophets with a PROPHETS.org. Please check us out. We got a lot of stuff going on there. We're going to have blogs on there, prayer requests. We're going to have videos on there and stuff, just with scriptures and just stuff that we experience and that you may experience, and know how God has taken us from it, taken us out of it. So thank you. Yeah.
And I'm Tony the Mayor. You can reach me at BigDog0862 at me.com or at 785-307-4662. Thank you for listening to Experience, Strength, and Hope.